this is where I want Larron, because hills are not this bike's preference. Well, this is the first time that I've been out on my 125 since I managed to get my Daytona 675 on the road. And friends did say to me, you know, once you've been on your big bike, you'll feel differently about your 125. So, how do I feel about this bike now? Well, as you can imagine, in comparison, this bike is pretty gutless. I find myself twisting the throttle a lot more on this bike, but in comparison between these two bikes, that's probably the only negative that I have. Getting back on this bike after having been riding out with Larron, getting back on Rafiki here, it's like having spent 4 days on an MT-07 back in January in order to pass my test. I got used to the power, and then I got back on this bike, and of course the power just isn't there. You know, that's to be expected really. But as I said, that's probably the only negative that I have at the moment. On the other side of the coin, this bike is lighter, far more nimble, much easier to ride. The seat's more comfortable. The riding position is far less aggressive and far more comfortable. And I have the biggest grin on my face right now. Now that caught me by surprise. You know, I expected getting back on this bike, I expected to feel, oh my gosh, where's the power? There's none. You know, you go to pull off and nothing happens. You know, you have to twist the throttle a damn sight more. You know, I expected these things, but I wanted to be okay with my 125, but I didn't expect to have such a big grin on my face being back on this bike. I guess it's because, or probably because, I've had this bike for so long. You know, he's part of the family, he's been with me on my journey, and you know, I first got him in 2018, you know, that was 5 years ago, and it's actually has been 5 years now. So I am attached to this bike, but yes, this big grin that I have on my face, I think it's amazing. It really is. I'm so chuffed to be back on this bike. Yes, he has no power. Yes, if you're in the wrong gear, you know about it. You know, you go to pull off, nothing happens. And I could do with adjusting his clutch cable, because I've gotten so used to Larron's. Larron's clutch cable is in the perfect position. But I'm still absolutely chuffed to be back on this bike.
You got into my head. Am I about to lose myself? When will all of this fade away? 'Cause nothing's ever black and white.
And that's not to say that I don't love my Daytona. I absolutely do. Lauren is every bit the big bike that I wanted her to be. I just didn't expect to be this enthusiastic over my 125 after having ridden a big bike. You know, we did this, like I say, back when I did my test in January, and getting back on a 125, it was nice to get back out riding with Rafiki, don't get me wrong, but it was also a little bit odd because you really felt that loss of power. And so having now finally bought a big bike and got it on the road, I didn't expect to be this enthusiastic about my little 125. And I don't know how long I will keep him for, but I am really attached to this bike. Maybe it is the symbolic value that this bike holds, and he also holds a sentimental value for me. Or maybe it's simply because of how long I've had the bike. You know, maybe it's simply because of the amount of work that we've done on this bike, most of which is documented on this channel. Not all of it, but most of it. And there are one or two other jobs that I still want to do. Like, I wouldn't mind getting some cotton reels fitted. Yamaha, true to form, didn't drill and tap the swing arm for cotton reels. So if I want to fit some cotton reels, I'm going to have to drill and tap the swing arm, which also means removing the exhaust. And I've said it before, this bike has an unfinished feeling to it. And I don't like saying it like that, but there's no other way of saying it. You would expect your swing arm to have threads for your cotton reels, and it doesn't. So yeah, I'm gonna have to do that. Thanks, Yamaha. And thanks to the weather as well, the forecast of which did not forecast rain, and yet we've gotten soaked. Do you know, maybe my love of this bike is all of those things. And it may also be because when I was looking for my 125, and same when I was looking for my big bike, I kind of decided what I wanted, you know, the attributes that I wanted the bike to have. And with my 125 at least, I narrowed my choice down to the YZF R125. There was no other choice. I set my standards. I set the standards for, well, really, for what I wanted. And I'm sure that having set my standards and stuck to them, it's paid off.